So I get a day off and I spend it pulling a trailer. Well, my dash went out again. Come on. Sometimes. Hey, there we go. Crown Vic things. So I've talked about refrigerated trailers before, how they work, how they function and whatnot. But what we've never really talked about is the importance of maintaining the temperature in your trailer. Should you put it on continuous? Should you put it on cycle? You know, how important is this? Well, believe it or not, it's a lot more important than people realize. And it's a nice Chevelle that just went past me on that trailer. And people put temperature sensors in the back of these trailers a lot more than you realize. Now, I'm not going to go too deeply into refrigerated trailers because, well, we've already done that video. But if you got a Thermo King or a Carrier, it all depends. You got a green light, or a yellow light, amber. Or if you got a Thermo King, that's a white light and a amber light. Back in the day, we used to have a control panel with about 8 to 10 different lights. If you knew where to look, you could really get a really good read on what it was doing. I actually like those better because it gave you a better heads up of what the trailer was doing. And back then you needed that because without the modern electronics that they have now, you really had to monitor your trailer temperatures for real. That was a very real thing. So it was a lot more time consuming than it is now. You know, the modern reefer puller right now, he's just set it and forget it. Of course, one of the main problems with set it and forget it is a lot of times people actually do. So when you're trying to maintain your trailer temperature and you're trying to do things correctly, there's several things you have to ask yourself. And the list is rather short, but it's really important. Now, mind you, these are things that'll come with experience and dealing with different customers. Where'd you pick it up? Where's it going? What is it? And what time of year it is. So basically 4 things. The time of year, well, actually is a lot more important than people realize because you will actually burn more fuel putting it on cycle than you will on continuous because it has to lower the temperature inside every time it fires up because it heats up so fast. And a lot of these trailers just sit there and just beat themselves to death. So, like if you're hauling ice cream, you have to have -10 or below. If you're hauling meat, you know, fresh meat's usually 24 to 28. Frozen is always 0. So, commodities like ice cream, I will always put it on, you know, -20 continuous depending on the time of year. Now, between about, well, May, June, and depending on where you live in the country, and about the middle of last September, I always advise people to put it on continuous because it will maintain the temperature a lot better. And the temperature recorder they put inside will show a maintaining of temperature. So let's talk about that. Now, when I get home, we're going to take apart a temp recorder that I have, that I actually found in the back of a trailer. It's a 10-day recorder. And I decided it would be kind of neat to see what was in it, and we'll talk about the kind of recorders that they have. But this is where hauling refrigerated freight, it doesn't matter what company you work for, this is where you have to protect yourself. You'll never go wrong running it on continuous. Because these new computers are Wi-Fi, they're Bluetooth, they store data, and if they see that you're maintaining your temperature, it's not on you. So, and trust me, there's a lot of these shippers that put hot loads in. Years ago, I got a hot load. And so what do I mean by a hot load? Well, it wasn't cooled off properly like it should have been before it was loaded on the trailer. As I've said before, refrigerated trailers are designed to maintain the temperature. They will not cool anything off. If you put a load in, if you put a hot load in, if I put a box of meat in the trailer that was 60 degrees, which you should never want, it doesn't matter. It'll be, after 2 or 3 days, they go to probe it, it'll still be 60 degrees. It's the weirdest thing. It'll cool off the air, it'll cool off the walls, it will not cool off product. Refrigerated trailers are weird that way. So you have to put it in at the right temperature. And because we maintain temperature, it actually saved us on a load a while back. So I'll tell you the story. I get this load going up to a place in Wisconsin. They make, they call it a dairy, but they make cheese and meat sticks and stuff like that. Pretty good place. Good meat. Wisconsin has the best beef sticks. I'll fight you on that. But that's pretty good cheese too, but there's another story behind that. Anyhow, we pick up these combos, taking them up to this place, and Tyson at the time was trying something out. They were mixing dry ice in with they're mixing dry ice in with their trim to try to cool it off faster and get it to ship faster. It didn't work. So they threw all the dry ice in the trim, threw it in at 26 degrees like it was supposed to be, and we brought it in. Now, mind you, it had been sitting on the trailer for 4 days. It was loaded early. We sat there, we picked it up, took it up, dropped it off the next day. So it had been sitting on the trailer being maintained for 4 days. And when we pulled it out, they probed it, they realized that 6 or 8 of the combos were at 41 degrees. They were too high. They were too hot. You know, they were over the allowable limit. So they got rejected. And they were sitting there wanting to say, well, did you guys do this and did you guys do that? Well, when that happens, the first thing these customers want is for you to download the data off the reefer. We did. It showed that the trailer had maintained temperature the whole time at the temperature that the customer had requested. It's not our fault. And then I found a lot of this stuff out later, but sure enough, wasn't our fault, and the shipper had to eat it. And it was just something they were trying. I don't know if they still do that or not. I hope they don't. But that's why it's so important to maintain your temperature. But heat is another thing too. The difference between running continuous versus running cycling it on and off. In the spring, winter, and fall, well, in the harshest of the winters, you need to run it on continuous because it'll keep the fuel from gelling. It keeps the return will stir the fuel. Keep your tanks full, put a little gel in there, and let the return cool the fuel. It just keeps it agitated. And in the hottest of the winter, or hottest of the summer, you need to have it also on cycle, because if you can maintain it but keep it running, the reefer will run at a lower RPM. It'll be quieter, and it won't be sitting there screaming for hours at a time trying to cool it off. So put it on continuous and maintain. Now, like with box beef, like when we used to take box beef to Walmart, I always do Walmart loads on continuous. Walmart puts temperature sensors in there, And if they order something or they order too much or something like that, they will reject a load in a minute for any reason and say X, Y, and Z. Well, this is just something that you do to take it off the table. Take that option off the table. I ran it on continuous. It maintained temperature the whole time. It's not a bad thing. So, just something to keep in mind. And I've found that in the summer times, when I'm running it on continuous, I'm actually burning less fuel than I am running it on cycle, because when you have to cool down when it's 100 degrees out, that thing will fire up and just scream for an hour at the high RPM trying to get it cooled off. Shut off for 3 minutes, it'll raise 10 degrees and it'll go all over again. So I found it just better that way. Now, truthfully, whatever the customer wants, the customer gets. If it's marked on the bill, start, stop, continuous, and all that, usually it's just best to do that, especially this day and age. So you just truthfully, I don't own the trailer. So when it comes to issues with the trailer, the refrigerated unit, and freight, I make phone calls to the company and I allow them to make the hard decisions. So let's get back to the house. I'm actually out here on a dirt road. Once again, Kansas, I'm on the edge of a storm. Yay. So let's get back to the house and I'll show you the temperature sensor unit we're talking about, and we'll give you the lowdown on that and we'll see how it works. And so let's get back to the house. So we're back in my back room tonight, and I've got the box. Let's take a look at it. So this is a Sensitech, apparently. It's sealed on the side. It's actually, you can see that it's still ticking, which I think is funny. These little slats right here, there will be a piece of paper in there that keeps it from turning on. So that way you can get it all ready to go and have the battery. So all you got to do is just pull it and it turns on. It has a on the outside, it actually has a thing that you can write everything down on. So it has all this here. I'm covering up something that needs to be covered up. But there's 3 pieces of paper here. One stays with the master bills, and the other 2 stay with the whatchamacallit, temperature sensor. Yeah, that. So there's 3 of them. So one will actually go with the download and get stuck to the bills at the receiver also. And then you have, actually, there's 4 of them. Then you have one that just stays with the unit. So yeah, everybody gets a copy. So let's break this thing open and see what it is. Now there are several different kinds of these. You have the little tiny disposable ones that you just basically crack and go, or punch and go like that. You've got these big honking units. I don't know if this is the kind that actually has a paper roll in it. They used to put a paper roll in them and you could literally just watch it. There's other ones that plug into computers. There's all sorts of different kinds. This is just what I have. It says peel to open. So let's peel this thing off right here. And tamper evidence seal. So basically, once you peel this off, there's no getting it back on. So come on now. There we are. Yep, watch this. See, it already says void as it comes off. So if that happens, it's voided. You could be in a lot of trouble. So as you can hear, it's like I said, it's still clicking. So to open it, you just push this, and I guess we'll see what's inside. Oh wow, Okay, so this has paper in it too. Let me get you in. So this is what they use here. This is actually rolls of paper. We're actually done with it. It's still ticking. It's a 10-day. It's got a little battery in it. It's actually moving it very slowly. Let's see what flavor this battery is. Well, okay. Never heard of that before. Let's check out this paper roll. Before we do that, let me show you something interesting here. This right here is a thermocouple. It actually lets you know if it's hot or it's cold. This thermocouple will expand and contract due to it being hot and cold and move this back and forth. This is what actually makes the line on what's basically this carbon paper. So let me, that's a lot of paper. Let's go open this up and see what it looks like. So, well, apparently this is made in Indonesia. That's made in China. But here's the paper. Over the days, it shows you where it is in Celsius and Fahrenheit. So it's been out of the truck for here. Let me get it unrolled further, and I've got it weighed down here because it's going to roll up if I don't. So this is interesting. If you look here, was it 6 Fahrenheit, negative 15 Celsius on the start of the 10-day when it was started. And went a few days here. This is where the trailer was unloaded. Now this was about the day I picked up the trailer. It was empty. It was a drop trailer, and but I think it got banged. This is when it was being unloaded. It just got banged and thrown on the ground. That's what happened there. But as the trailer was turned off, it went up here. So that's pretty fascinating. Not as much paper as one would think, but this is actually a journey of 10 whole days. So it's pretty neat. Did you see how rudimentary and simple that little thing was? That right there can cost you thousands. That is why you be very mindful of your refrigerator temperature. And if there's any question, or if it's anything like boxed or frozen, or it's too hot outside or whatever, I always make the executive decision to do whatever is in the best interest of me, or the company really, for not getting anything rejected. The guts on this is probably, in China, this is probably maybe $6.50 worth of everything here. You gonna screw everything up for $6.50 on something that was largely preventable. That's why I said, if you do everything right and maintain your proper temperatures the best to your abilities in your reefer, even if they reject a load, once they download that and see that you did everything correctly, it's off you. I said that earlier. This little contraption is why, because they're even more rudimentary than this. And one of these days I'll find another one, but I still thought it was pretty cool to tear it apart. So, as we move on to the new generation of refrigerated trailers, one thing I didn't talk about. A lot of things are controlled remotely now. The company can sit there and mess with it from the office. Now, if that's the case, you let them take the bag. But right now, what I'm talking about is you protecting you. You know, even if somebody else is paying for the reefer fuel and they're sitting there complaining that you're costing them an extra $6 or $7, you know, if they insist and they demand and they tell you, you got to do what they want. It's their load. But what I'm saying is, as a driver, it's important to, if you are in the position of having to make these decisions, make ones that benefit you. That's good. I'm not sponsored by Jim Beam, but I wish I was. Yeah, make decisions that are important to you and that will further, your business. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to pass the buck, and it always ends up landing on the driver. I mean, it's no matter who screws up, somehow it's always the driver's fault. So do whatever you can not to be left holding the bag. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what this whole video was about. Learning when to make the call, or how to protect yourself, or what to do. And some of the protocols that you probably ought to follow to ensure that you have success. Now, here's the thing. Reefers are going to break down. Things are going to happen. I've had it happen. I had a reefer go down. I thought it was just locking up. I was like, this is weird. It wouldn't start. Opened the doors and the pulleys had fallen off. At that point, not my trailer. I make a phone call. I boogie on over to Thermo King. I get it taken care of. Hey. So, when it comes to things like that, if you don't own the trailer, let somebody else make that call. But when it comes to protecting the load and doing what's right, especially when it's hot out, protect yourself, guys. So with that, I'm going to let you go, but you guys be safe out there. Be profitable. Protect yourself. The way the industry's going right now and the way freight's moving and all that, things are going to get harder. And this is why I've talked about protecting your job, protecting your employment, and protecting your employer. You don't want to be the guy that loses the freight, because he just doesn't lose that one load. He loses all of it. And if he loses all of it and that's what you're hauling, he doesn't need you anymore. So be careful, guys. Watch yourself. Do what's right. And this is what good performance looks like. Just try to perform well. So be profitable out there. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you later.